has just had his first sitting, and let's link up with Zinzi to tell us more about that. Zinzi, good morning. Talk to us about this first sitting of Chief Justice David Maraga. How was it?
All right, good morning, Betty. That's right. Today was the first sitting for Chief Justice and his team. He was really meeting with the senior counsels and able to hear from them and their expectations within the next 1 year. It was more of a meet and greet, and the first thing that was also made more supported by the senior counsel, Fred, who we'll talk to in a moment, is that he hopes that the Chief Justice and the new team will be able to lead Kenya with integrity, and that integrity is the bedrock of this Supreme Court, and of course to do justice with courage. On top of that, he mentioned that this court has seen about 153 cases ever since it was established back in 2011, and about 169 are still pending. Of course, these are some of the cases that they will be looking into. And just to cement the relationship as the new Chief Justice for Kenya, he mentioned that they went on a 1-week retreat to sort of cement that relationship, clear any bad air out, and to make sure that once they go forward as a team. But to join me right now to help us understand more and the expectations of the new Chief Justice and his team, I am joined by Fred Ojiambo, who is the senior chairman, of the senior counsel. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to KTN News. First of all, let's talk about your confidence level with the new Chief Justice. Where is that? Do you think that he'll be able to take Kenya towards, the next few steps that we need to be as a country?
I think so. I think he's a man of integrity himself, and he's demonstrated that he has great zeal for hard work, and I expect that he will do what needs to do, and he's one who can bring people together, and the Supreme Court needs to come together as a unit.
All right, we've heard that him clearly stating that there are about 169 cases that are still pending. Will we see some of these cases be heard before Christmas festival?
Yes, in fact, just now they're hearing one, and it's likely that they will hear. It's possibly going to be an application that they're hearing now, and they will hear it. In fact, it's a full appeal. They're going to hear it this morning and likely this afternoon. So they're already off to a very fast start.
Right. You've been in this industry for quite some time now. Just to wind up our interview, what are some of the challenges ahead of Chief Justice and his team, and how can he really combat that?
Well, it's got the issues of integrity, the issues of corruption in the judiciary, just the issue of dealing with the backlog and people getting their work on the ply shared and doing their best to ensure that the backlog is removed. He's got a lot on his plate, but I really think that he's got the right team, and he himself is an individual of great report. I am sure he's going to make it.
All right. And as the senior counsel to the Supreme Court, this new team does give you the absolute confidence that, this next team will do what is necessary for the Supreme Court of Kenya.
Absolute confidence is a difficult concept, but I think we have confidence that they have demonstrated they're willing to get on with it. We've had very difficult times in the Supreme Court, and in this passage, as I mentioned in my remarks, since 2011. But I think now they've learned a few lessons, and we can see that there will be some attempt to make things better, and hopefully the bar will also support them.
All right, earlier on when we were talking, you told me that some of these 169 cases are very simple ones. Could you give us a brief description of some of them?
Oh, some of them are really very small applications. Small in the sense that there isn't really much to be done. I mean, one of the ones that we have, for instance, is the one that came out of Judge Tunoi's removal. It's a small application, but it still adds to the number. And those can be dealt with quite quickly, I think. And as long as the Supreme Court can sit, they can be dealt with quite easily. And I'm almost quite certain that they're going to do that.
All right. Fred Ojiambo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for speaking to KTN News. That is none other than Fred Ojiambo, the chairman of the senior of council, speaking here to KTN News, and him really giving his confidence on the Supreme Court, and this being the very first session that Chief Justice Maraga has held with his team. And of course, the main theme here is integrity and doing justice in Kenya with such courage. Of course, he also went on to implement meant that the first thing that will be discussed is the fact that beginning of next year, stakeholders will be able to discuss key programs within the Supreme Court, and he is welcomed for that discussion, as well as to make sure that all lawyers are able to cooperate, especially when it comes to certain cases, for them to do their research and bring it forward in order to make sure that certain conclusions are made and are made right. Betty?
Very much, Zinzi Kibiku there, live from the Supreme Court, where Chief Justice David Maraga is already at work, and like we understand, he is already listening. He's already sitting in court and listening to some of the cases that are pending. All right, so we want now to take a look at some of the key rulings that the previous Chief Justice Willie Mutunga made. Let's focus here on our Super Bowl, and these are the key Mutunga Court rulings, the ones that we remember very, very well. Of course, the first one here, the 2/3 gender rule. Now, this has been really a hot issue here in the country, the gender equity. Now, what the Supreme Court ruled at his time is that it is an affirmative action right for women, but also the Supreme Court said that it is a progressive process in nature and cannot be immediately realized. And then that's the point that they handed over the job to legislation, to Parliament. And in the last couple of months, we've seen that happening. We've seen a lot of these debates, a lot of losses, so to speak, when it comes to this particular issue, the gender rule. It has really not been come to fruition, but the Supreme Court, this was one of the issues that the Supreme Court dealt with. The other one, of course, is one that took place earlier on this year, the retirement of Kalpana Rawal and Tunoi. If you remember, the Supreme Court was so much in conflict when it came to this particular case. The majority of the judges' decision brought conflict in the Supreme Court because some could not really agree on the retirement age dispute. That dispute, like the point that it talks about, is it split the court right, not even in the middle. You know, it was a very big percentage of judges who are for it and others who are opposing that retirement age for the two. All right, presidential election petition, that was in 2013. This petition, if you remember, was by the main petitioner, was court leader Raila Odinga. But the court ruled at that time that the elections were conducted in compliance with the Constitution, something that other people later on came and said was not the best decision. And also it went and said that Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were validly elected. So those were three of many other rulings that were made under Chief Justice Willie Mutunga. And so we wait to see what will be some of the memorable rulings or key rulings that we'll see under the leadership of Chief Justice David Maraga in the coming days and years. All right, so we want to take a break here on News Center, but remember we have a Twitter poll that is ongoing. We're asking you, has the Jubilee government done enough to address land issues here in the country? Has the Jubilee government done enough to address land issues